Ladies and gentlemen, the dancer and the dance. Sonal Mansingh in conversation with Suneet Tandon.
Namaskar, hello, welcome to this wonderful session. I'm sure it's going to be fabulous because anybody who's heard Sonal speaking, heard her perform, watched her perform, will know that she's absolutely riveting in whatever capacity she emerges before us. So I wanted to start off this particular session by asking you, Sonal, that you are an artist in a unique position right now. You're an artist of the highest distinction with an almost unparalleled list of achievements, who's also faced with the challenge of representing the Indian classical arts, in particular dance, in Parliament. So, at this juncture, what are the most important 3 or 4 things that you would like to see coming about as a result of your efforts at this stage? And whether these are changes in official policy or they're changes in the consciousness of fellow citizens towards the arts and the application to our daily life, I'd like you to mention 2 or 3 or 4 maximum important things that you would like to achieve at this stage.
Thank you, Suneet. First of all, I want to thank JLF for inviting me for this session. It's this unique global platform, and I must say that I feel honored and privileged. Yesterday was the day when I completed 2 years in Rajya Sabha. The announcement came on 14th July 2018. So it is a wonderful coincidence that today you open our conversation, our dialogue, with this long question, which I think deserves, I hope, not a very complicated answer, not a complicated response, but I think I'll break it up into at least 2 segments. One, Suneet, I think that I represent India's arts, full stop. Not as a dancer alone, but as you rightly said, and Sanjay before you, that my canvas has been very, very broad, very large, all along. Along with dance, my 3 styles that were mentioned, as chairman of Sangeet Natak Academy, the central organization, I was dealing with performing arts across the spectrum.
Right.
Even otherwise, through my festivals, through my choreographies, of which I think you have also helped me long ago, if you remember.
I remember. We did something many, many years ago.
Something unique, yes.
Absolutely.
Gatha Saptashati and the classical. Yeah, anyway. So what I want to say is that I do believe that this honor was given not to me as Sonal Mansingh, the dancer, but to Sonal Mansingh as representative of the glorious heritage of the Indian arts.
Absolutely.
Be they visual, be they performance arts, or be they plastic arts. Now, having said that, I would like to now continue to say that what is it that makes it so difficult at once and easy? When we say Indian arts, folk, traditional, devotional, martial, tribal, and classical, Shastriya, those which pertain to the classical texts. I mean, there are many more. Dance, music, puppetry, theater, painting, sculpture, and one can go on and on and on. What does one do? What does one do? That I have tried in my 2 years. I have spoken now and then. I haven't yet made my, as they say, maiden speech. And I did ask once in the full house when the chairman, Vice President of India was chairing the session. I said, sir, why is it called a maiden speech? I would like to call it a bachelor speech. And like that, and many more interjections have been made by me in the first 2 years. I would say that at the moment, I feel somehow that the pin has got stuck in some place. Not only because of the corona pandemic, but for the past, I think, few years, successively one has felt a change, maybe not for the better, a change definitely, which has now brought us to a point, and the pandemic has laid it bare, open. What? That the respect, the affection, the involvement of society, of the policymakers, is somehow, it could be much better.
Right. So
And I have been,
what would you like to see change? And
yes, I'm coming to that. Yes. I recently spoke on another platform, and I've been speaking about that. But now I think during this pandemic, it's a wonderful opportunity to speak your mind even more freely. When you do not see the audience, you speak. I have said, from the day the tragedy struck, when officially culture was divorced from education as an official policy, and that was somewhere in the late 70s, 80s, early, maybe. But from that day onwards, the slow decline of culture as one of the most important factors in life, in shaping the national ethos, the national conscience, I would say, the national aesthetics, it somehow began a gradual decline. Why? As you know, education remains all about getting good grades. Education remains all about running away to America or Canada or Australia. Education remains getting a good job. When culture, which is the wonderful sweet butter, is removed from the buttermilk, it's a very Indian analogy. I give it consciously. From the buttermilk, butter is removed, that is culture. What remains is the sour taste of only the sour buttermilk, only the education. There is no charm.
Yeah, wonderful analogy. But tell me, what are the concrete steps you'd like to see implemented?
Yes. So therefore, connecting to this point I made, my muhim, my entire energy is now pointed towards getting culture back into education, or education in culture, education through culture, culture in education. I think this will be a radical step, but a step not too late, before a lot of our beautiful cultural traditions and understandings, and the artists who perform, who are involved in these traditions, before they vanish.
So this is
why I say
the official policy would like culture to be incorporated.
Yeah. Incorporated into education, definitely in a big way. The second thing is the policymakers.
Yes.
That is, education is one. The second thing is the present day policies in Credible India, which only means that you show off your dances, your music, your whatever, the grand, spectacular thing. Culture and arts do not remain at that on the grand platform all the time. There are layers. And I think we are now beginning to ignore the layers, and we have started disrespecting those layers. Not only ignore, but disrespect. Indian cultural traditions, the arts, are made up of so many layers. And if one or two layers go, okay. But if layers just start dropping down, dropping off, then I can assure you, Sunit, I'm sorry. I'm an optimist by birth. I'm an optimist by nature. But today, I would like to say that maybe in another 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, something very different will emerge. Let it emerge. What happens to these beautiful things about which we talk, our glorious heritage, which covers from Himalaya to Kanyakumari, which was in Southeast Asia, which was this way, that way? क्या हम बात कर रहे हैं? The temples, the architecture, the sculpture, the paintings, the miniatures, the costumes, the festivals. Where? What? Do they remain only that? Or what really is intrinsic to good life? What is intrinsic to quality of life? That is the question I would like to raise again and again in the August House, and also take it forward to whoever matters, whoever are the policymakers, the powers that be. In this, Sunit, I would like to add,
Yes.
we all need to get together. It's not about Sonal Mansingh. It's not about dancer and musician and puppeteer and shadow player and theater. I think the unity is very important, where across the arts we realize that it's now or never.
Fantastic. So you're seeing this pandemic as an opportunity to highlight the importance of the arts in our everyday life, in our everyday education, at every level of education, I presume. That's what you want to say. You are in a position to try and work on that with our parliament, with our education ministry. So I presume you're going to take that forward. I think you mentioned that to me, and you may not like to share right now, but I know that you have plans for doing so. But let's also take some points from you regarding the illustrative points where you can tell us how culture has permeated Indian life, how these layers that you were talking about earlier, how different aspects of dance or our historical culture, painting, music, permeates different layers of our life. I'd like you to come up with some instances and examples which you can share with us.
Ayyo, Bhagwati, there are hundreds and thousands, and that is always a problem. I know. Sunita, I'll try. You are such an experienced person that maybe you can also remind me. But for one example, dancer, the classical dancer, and I belong to the solo dance tradition. In these days, in the last few years, choreographies, large, as I said, spectacular choreographies, have become the, what shall I say, the rule of the day. People like me, before me so many, Bala Saraswati down, we were all solo dancers. And that tapasya, that sadhana, that work, that alone a solo dancer, a classical dancer, held audiences of 500,000, even 5,000. Let me tell you that. And what was that discipline? What was that sattva, the essence that made the solo dancer like the diva, like the goddess? People could not move their eyes. In Mexico, the great Cervantino festival, and that was 1979. It was perhaps the first of its kind, and the wife of the Mexican then president was the official hostess or host or hostess. I reached there with my 8 musicians, 4 for Odissi, 4 for Bharatanatyam. And the stage was created in this square, the town square. Ballet companies, symphony orchestras, they were all performing day after day after day. I was one solo dancer. I performed both the styles. And when I was changing from one to another, the costume, my 8 musicians played the Talavadya Kachari and all, which sort of riveted them even more. I ended with the poem on Mary Magdalene.
Yes.
It was written in Malayalam, the language of Kerala, by the great poet Vallathol Narayana Menon, a contemporary of Rabindranath Tagore. And I hold that had he been translated by somebody like Y.B. Yeats, maybe he could have got the Nobel Prize for Literature. That wonderful. And that Malayalam poem on Mary Magdalene, I performed. Now, after that, there were, the Mexican president's wife and the cabinet ministers were there, and this and that, and all, our ambassador. You won't believe it, in the queue that had formed to meet me, I was still in my costume and sweaty and all. There was a group of stinking, sweating, garlic smelling peasants with stubble and those big sombreros. As one person, they fell on their knees and they were praying and doing this. And they were saying something. So, of course, the interpreter, he said, when the performance began and I was dancing, they said, yeah, what is this, And slowly they got so involved through Odissi, through Bharatanatyam. And in the end, when I danced Mary Magdalene, they were in tears and they were constantly doing this. Of course, that was a bridge that I had created. And they just want to kiss the hem of your costume. May they do that. Like that, there are hundreds of examples, like the Dalai Lama, our Dalai Lama. He invited me to McLeodganj. I believe I'm the only dancer ever invited there, never before, never after. And I presented the Choreography, the Buddhist tantric songs, which had gone from India to Tibet, and 50 of them were brought back and transcripted in Devanagari. When I danced one of that, the first one, Dr. Lokesh Chandra was sitting next to him. They saw him holding his stomach and sort of sobbing. Mm. At the end of the performance, as usual, he came up and gave me that, and I wanted to touch his feet and he wanted to touch mine. I have the photographs. Fantastic moments. You know what he said? How did you know Shabari is my Kula Devi? Your audience may not understand it, some may. Shabari is the symbol of the spirit, the prana shakti. And these are beautiful Charya Gitis, the Buddhist tantric songs. And that Shabari, that symbol, that woman, tribal woman, is the symbol in the song. She is the ultimate, whom the seeker wants to be united with. And that is the Kula Devi, his clan, the Lama clan, Dalai Lama clan. She's the presiding goddess. I mean, such things, fantastic things happen, Suneet. The power of pure, honest arts, where the melody becomes visual, where the sculpture becomes visual, where the poem becomes visual, where you from 2 to 3 to you go to 4 dimensions, the fourth being the spiritual, which cannot be ordered. It happens right there when you are immersed, where audience is immersed and the dancer vanishes, only the dance remains.
You've spoken so often and so eloquently, as you did just now also, of the universality of the communicative possibilities of Indian arts, of the Indian dance forms. So you were saying that whether it's Bharatanatyam, whether it's Chao, whether it's Odissi, the kind of communication it can establish over and above and overcoming the barriers of language, of mere spoken words, and communicate directly to the spirit. That is what you have always found is the miracle of our arts. Correct? Am I right?
Yes,
you?
Absolutely, 100%. But as I said, it demands 1 point: honesty, sincerity, dedication, devotion. Without that, it doesn't happen. You may be very glamorous, very beautiful, very young, as I was. And even now, if I dance, when I get up and, I'm sorry, at 76, 77, I can still hold the audience. It's not me saying that, it's people saying that. How does that happen? So the miracle is in the arts and in the application of your totality to that art.
So you've mentioned the dedication and the responsibility with which you have to take this message forward as far as the artist is concerned. What about audiences? People, this is a question everybody asks all the time. The younger generations are always getting disengaged from our own arts and looking towards other forms. They're not really involved with especially the classical arts or even the folk arts. So what is your kind of formula? You are so convinced and convincing about the need and the deep need that we have of imbibing these arts and of understanding them, appreciating them, the kind of enriching influence they have on our lives. How do we engage with audiences across generations? How do we get the younger crowd also into to engaging with these arts and enriching their own lives?
Maya of machine, by which I mean the virtual world that has been created, and today that is the only world for some time in which we are working, speaking, singing, performing, communicating. So I call it the Maya of machine. This is a machine. First, as I said, education. Unless the arts education begins from a younger age, from schools at least. Second, I do believe in liberal education, that along with engineering, with computative mathematics, with whatever, with commerce, you can learn the violin, you can learn dance, you can take a photography. That kind of education, which was, I think, some time ago in Delhi University, and again, it was taken back. I think that is a necessity. Number two. Number three, virtual, how to use the virtual world now. I was very unaware, Suneet, let me confess. I was totally ignorant. I had a kind of a mind block. People like me who have danced for decades, on stages, for us, this little machine is sort of, kya hai, why? Now, I perforce am there, the frame, the lighting, what I say, how I look, all that matters. And the outreach is, of course, much more. But, and there's a but, who is what? If you get a thumbs up, you ha ha ha. If you get thumbs down, Facebook, YouTube, Insta, I know only a few, 3, 4 names, but I believe there are 50 other such platforms. So all the time, if you are involved in that only, where is the time to get the quality of your work, to think about more work? You go on rehashing the same thing, and because the frame is small, and you can get away with so much. You can write about yourself superlative, the greatest dancer of India. Who is there to check it? The point I'm making, Suneet, is that the virtual world, the Maya of machine, has to be used in a very refined way. That's not going to happen like that. But at least a beginning has to be made by platforms like this one, which has global acceptance and respect. So select the artists, select the work, not for their glamour alone, but for the substance, the content, and what they are saying. Do they reach your heart? Do they say something that will uplift you? Because the whole idea of art is not only entertainment, not only education. The whole idea of the art is to create that aha moment, that a few moments where you are disengaged from the mundane and engaged with something that is above. How does that happen? We all have to work for that now.
So you think that the tremendous possibilities of this nascent medium that we are looking at right now, which is the web and these platforms, online platforms, can now be consciously worked on and used to spread and inculcate knowledge of the Indian arts also, amongst other things, with the younger crowd. And the younger crowd, of course, connects through these media. And you see this as an opportunity, obviously, a huge opportunity.
I do. I've trained my mind now.
You've taken to it in a great manner. Ever since the pandemic, suddenly you're all over Instagram, you're all over Facebook and so on, and you're doing a lot of live sessions and sharing your stories and your life story. and various things that you've gained in life, insights you've gained in life. So I think you take to it like a duck to water, and you think that this is the way forward. Even after the pandemic is over, this is the way forward.
I think this will be the way forward for quite some time, because it's not going to be easy to open up your auditoriums and catch the audience coming back and get sponsorships and whatever else is needed. That's okay. You've disappeared, Suneet. I don't see you.
That's all right. You're on screen, so that's fine.
Yeah, no. I have, as I said, that I had a mental block, and I consciously chipped it away when I understood that this is it. If I'm not there, I'm not there. You know, like you disappeared from my screen, I'll disappear. And I yet have to offer quite a bit. So I don't want to disappear. I want to give of myself, share whatever I have to share. And then I don't mind if I disappear, but not at this moment. So I had to work on my mind to say, this is it, do it, baby. As the young people would say, hi, dude, I'm on it now, baby. And my young students say, my God, Guruji, you're saying that? I said, you. Now, so what? I like fun. I like fun. And I say, yo, now close it. And this becomes Simha Mudra, the Hasa Mudra, the hand,
Yes.
that can show you so many different things. It can become a cow or a, cattle. It can become a deer.
Yes.
It can become a lion. And it can say so many more things. So like that, one can connect with the young people. Young people should not think that we come from the caves. We are very much here and now.
Absolutely. Just to get back to dance, because at least three forms of Indian classical dance you are a complete expert in. And I believe you started, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but you started off also with Manipuri, I believe.
Well, I was 4 years old, like all babies.
But Chau, Odissi, and Bharatanatyam.
Bharatanatyam first.
Yes.
That is my first love.
Yes.
My first stage performance was in 1961. And ever since, I've never stopped Bharatanatyam, dancing and teaching. Number 2, Odissi, because of my first husband, who's from Odisha. And his father pushed me into it. And I thank my father-in-law, every single day. And the third, Chau, also came as a corollary, because I said this Odissi is so lasya, so, where is the Tandava, the two elements that are very essential for Indian classical dances. Yes. The feminine, graceful one, and the masculine, vibrant, vigorous one. So the Odisha Chau, Mayurbhanj Chau, I was the first woman to learn it in 1973 and perform it on stage. And then after that, of course, a lot of people took to it. And now, of course, it's gone global.
You've already sort of hinted at it, but what are the interconnections between these various dance forms? And there is an underlying unity to all our dance traditions, I think you would agree. But these have given you different aspects of experiences of life, of the various rasas and of life. So just give me an idea of how you see the interconnectedness of our classical traditions.
These are like a family, and my elder sister and I, we look so totally different. But when we smile or there is some mannerism and people say, aha, something, are you connected? Are you related? Bharatanatyam and Odissi especially, they come from the same roots. One, Bharatanatyam is not just Tamil Nadu. It's a contiguous area, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, the earlier Andhra. Now it is, of course, Telangana and Andhra, and Karnataka. And Odissi, Odradesh, it was mentioned in our old Bharatanatyam Shastra, the great compendium, the text. Yes. Odra Magadhi. Magad was where Ashoka ruled, Emperor Ashoka. And he came to Kalinga to fight. And then he had a change of heart and he became Buddhist. And Odra Magadhi is the style mentioned in that Bharatanatyam Shastra. And the old name of Odisha is Odradesha. So the connections are many, but Bharatanatyam, I would say, is like a geometry, come alive.
Yes.
It's the lines are so clear,
Yes.
and it is tarangutum, it's lightning.
Yes.
When the leaps and the jumps and the pirouettes. Odissi looks as we learned. Now, of course, there are a lot of interconnections, more interconnections people have taken from Bharatanatyam. But the Odissi looks beautiful, graceful, like a creeper in the swaying in the breeze. But it's so difficult. The Tribhanga, especially the three bend posture, where the neck, the hip, and the knee, they are all in opposite directions. And in that, if you move only the torso, which is so difficult because people start moving their hips and it becomes hips, hooray.
Yeah.
So it's Odissi is like filigree, if I may say so. Bharatanatyam is the larger frame, geometric.
Yes.
But
and Chow is very, very energetic.
Odissi can be also very energetic, but as I said, it's a deceptive energy which emanates from this terribly demanding grace. And Chow, of course, is the corollary of Odissi from Odisha, the martial art. And my God, I can't dance here. That's a pity of this Maya of machines.
Full screen. No, but we're not going to let you go without a demonstration. In fact, we had discussed that we will have something to offer to our audiences from you. Maybe it's a katha, which you are so really good at. Also, you have riveting kathas that you do. So now we have about 5 minutes left before we have to go to the audience for questions. So I'd like to request you to please, demonstrate something. Whatever you wish. It's entirely your choice. We've not pre-planned what it's going to be, but something that
I had 2-3 things in mind but now quickly, if I have to say, there's one which I always sing at the end of my Krishna Katha, the Meera, my favorite. Another one I thought of was the incident in the Ramcharit Manas, where the father of Sita is watching and nobody's able to pick up the dhanush. They're not even able to move it. They fall down. And he says, what has happened? That nobody, had I known this, I would have not made this vow. This I was performing in BHU in Banaras, Varanasi, the Banaras Hindu University in 1979. And when I depicted this, that nobody should think that there is a Veer, there is no Veer Purush. A chap got up from the audience, pulling at his mustache and said, "Avat hai, I'm coming." And people still remember that. Anyway, now the third thing that I just thought, my favorite song, but it is supposed to be a sad song, but it's a happy song. And I don't know who sang C.H. Atma or Saigal or Pankaj Malik, I don't know. But
I'm afraid we only have about 3 minutes left, so whatever you can fit.
Okay, I'm just going on that.
Yeah.
Pritam aan milo, Pritam aan milo, Sukhiya jiya bulaye, Pritam aan milo. प्रीतम आन मिलो, रात अंधेरी छाई बानमा, मन मोरा घबराए है, दूर पेड़ पे बैठा पंछी यही रटन लगाए है, आन मिलो प्रीतम आन मिलो, प्रीतम आन मिलो, प्रीतम आन मिलो.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. We heard you sing and do Abhinay. That's really a treat. Can we now turn to the audience questions? We've got some questions already lined up for you. There's a question from Sudhir Tandon. He asks, notwithstanding the extraordinary Indian heritage of arts and culture and the fact that these are perhaps the biggest job creators, we still have not used art for infrastructure building. Why?
because exactly as I said, that art and artists have been separated from society, and they have become only like in shop windows, something to be shown.
Icing on the cake, not the cake itself.
A cherry on the icing also.
Yes. So that we need to reverse. Can I go to another question, which is from Sachdev Ramakrishna, who asks, Ms. Mansingh, you were inducted into this amazing world of the performing arts, witnessing Bade Ghulam Ali Khan, M.S. Subbulakshmi as a child. How do we replicate such magical opportunities in modern India?
Hope. I think these opportunities have to be created more and more. I agree, but how? That is for somebody like our friend Shonjay to answer, because they are the ones now who are the bridge between artist and the audience. And again, in this ambiance, within this framework, there can be much more interaction rather than on stage where only 600 or 1,000 people can interact.
Right.
And I hope that there'll be more artists brought on this stage, this prestigious stage, because you only have literature, you only have this, you only have that. No, it's a very wide canvas.
Yeah.
And that is the only way. But also, Sunit, I would say to this Mr. Sachadeva, it's a wonderful question, that there are great artists. And I do think every artist has something great to offer.
Right.
The idea is to bring it out, to get that out from them.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Devjani Mukherjee asks, amalgamation of art and culture with academics strengthens emotional intelligence in the readers as well, in viewers and readers? She's just asking a
absolutely emotional intelligence. I would say emotional stability also, because nowadays people are becoming so hyper about things. Emotional stability and physical fitness, spirituality comes in somewhere. You wouldn't even believe it, you wouldn't even know it, but it starts seeping in and it begins to inform your life in many beautiful ways. So it's absolutely a must.
Now, there's a very different question here from Om, who says, what is your view on Bollywood choreography? Now, we all know of one particular occasion when you yourself did something to Bollywood songs. Bollywood songs. But what is your view of Bollywood choreography?
The earlier choreographies I'm talking of, they were done by classical dance gurus. I remember Roshan Kumari danced in Satyajit Ray's Jalsa Ghar. Damayanti Joshi had danced. Birju Maharaj has danced. Birju Maharaj has also, I think, choreographed for Devdas and for Shatranj Ke Khiladi and all that. But I would say that here I have a bit of a No. The way the choreographies are wonderful, of course, the cranes and the angles and the shots and everything has to be so exciting and changing, like kaleidoscope. You cut down minute into little seconds, and your visuals have to change to keep audience excited. But there is scope within classical dances also. And I don't think that nowadays, for the past 15, 20 years, except for a little Kathak here and there, it has been utilized. And that is where I find, again, it's a big question, that crores of people, lakhs of people are deprived of seeing the power and the capacity, the possibilities of Indian classical dance in film choreography. I won't say Bollywood alone, film choreographies.
Right. Thank you very much for your forthright views there. Sachdev Ramakrishna has asked yet another question saying, how should we revive the love for classical dances? There seems little funding for the performing arts, and there are a handful of dance academies of repute today.
Don't talk about funding, my dear. He's really hitting me with very, very sensitive questions, really. And we are very upset about it. We, meaning not I as Queen Victoria, as we, but we as the artistic community. That America, USA has given big packages, France, Germany, Australia. And here, I'm sorry to say, the funds of even a small organization like the Sangeet Natak Academy have been slashed, 75% gone. What to do? Where do we turn? So the performing artist is the worst hit. We know about the laborers, the daily wagers. Yeah. Nobody's talking about the daily wagers artists. We exist on our performances. I exist, in fact, if I was not an MP, I would not have known where to get my rent from. I don't have a place to live. I mean, I always lived in rented apartments. Where would the rent come from? That problem nobody has understood. And the choreographers, the stage hands, the accompanists, musicians, the choreography, freelance dancers, they're all hand to mouth. And there is no sunwai. Kahin kisi ke liye. You will not hear the word artist included in any package. MSME, crafts, daily wage, yes, yes. What about the artists? We are of no use. So the message is today that arts are not important. Artists, as and when, if they survive, we have to show them, we will show them. That's it. I'm sorry, I'm saying very hard-hitting words. Wherever they reach, I don't care, because this is the reality today.
Thank you. Thank you for being so forthright. And for
I'm always forthright and I'm misunderstood.
Our dilemma of the artists today is very, very real. And a lot of organizations are, including JLF and all, are coping with this situation and trying their best to contribute.
I'm also doing that, Sunit.
Doing that, trying to help artists who are not able to survive in this particular circumstance. Very quickly, one or two more questions, which with short answers. Jagmohan Manchanda has asked, does Kathak fit into this interconnected tradition of classical dance?
I think every dance form has had some dimensions, different aspects. So Kathak, which started as Katha, Kathakar, they were Kathaks, they were called Kathaks, Vrindavan, Mathura, and mainly the Radha Krishna themes. Because as you say Katha, you also do gestures, then you get up and you do a few steps. From there it grew, I believe. And of course the Ras tradition of Vrindavan. During the Mughal times, then it came to this Kathak that you see, the Tatkar and the Chakkars and this and that, and all because idol worship or anything to do with that is nishid, is prohibited. But they had to be entertained. So Kathak has very distinct two aspects. One is the Hindu and one is the Islamic. And I would say that very clearly because you can see that in costuming, in the art, the technique itself. And that's okay. But then the origins are in the Katha.
Okay. So that's where it fits in according to you. And now finally, one last question from Shailaja Khanna, who asks, Sonalji, you have been friends with so many greats, Pandit Ravi Shankar, Ustad Bilal Khan, and many more. Whose art do you miss the most today? Of all the greats who are no more with us?
Shailajaji, I cannot pick and choose. Each one is unique. Each one is a great artist. So I cannot choose. I'm sorry. I mean, their sitar, their singing, their voices, they still reverberate in my head. Siddheshwari Devi, Kesar Bai Kerkar, Mogu Bai Kurdikar, and of course my dear friend Kishori Amonkar. We were great friends. And she used to say, Mala Sonal kaitari mante mala ekala have. Sonal says something to me, I have to listen to her. Because I used to, Kishori, you have to start on time. No nakhra. Wonderful. Great.
I have so many memories of these wonderful people. I've been fortunate enough to meet Kishori Bai also. So well. Thank you so much. Sonal, this has been a real pleasure. It's such a wonderful time that we've spent talking to you, and thank you for also demonstrating a little bit of your art and for talking so passionately about the future of the arts and the importance of the arts, and particularly dance.
We have to bring art back center stage of life, national pride. And that is the mission we all must have.
Thank you. I don't think we could have a better last word on this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Suneet. Thank you, Chonjoy. Thank you, Jaipur Lit Fest. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Chonjoy, back to you now.